Hello everyone, it's Joe here from DRAFT FPL and we are back with Draft FPL content. Game week 17 is just around the corner, and to kick off the content in the run up to the restart, we're going to be previewing every single team. In particular, we're looking at the fixtures coming up, any potential gems from each team and any players we might want to get shot of. If you enjoy this content, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't yet. I've got 4 teams coming up today, let's get stuck in. Okay then, we're going alphabetically, and the first team is of course my boys, Arsenal. Let's look at the fixtures to start with. So the next 3 are West Ham at home, Brighton away, Newcastle at home. Not the best, not the worst, I'd say. I think West Ham at home is a good one to start with. Brighton away, I think there'll be goals in that game, but it's not the easiest place to go, the Amex. And then Newcastle at the Emirates is quite a tricky one, I would say, but it is a home game, so definitely a game you want to be starting your Arsenal assets. The next 5 fixtures are pretty rough actually. I believe after these 3 it's Tottenham away, United at home, which are both obviously tricky. So there is a spell of kind of 4 fixtures in a row, I'd say. Brighton away, Newcastle at home, Tottenham away, United at home, which all are reasonably tough, but definitely not bad enough that you really want to stay away. I think, you know, they're okay. So, you know, the next 5 fixture rank of 17 it looks pretty bad, but things really do turn around after that. The 5 following those are Everton away, then it's a double game week 23, Brentford at home, City at home, which is fantastic, then Villa away, Leicester away, Bournemouth at home. So we're looking at, in general, pretty good fixtures, a few tough ones thrown in there. And that's kind of how it looks. I think it's still a very good time to be holding Arsenal assets. I see them continuing the good form they've had. They have lost Gabriel Jesus for a couple of months, which is a big blow. But I think with the form we saw at the back end of last year from Nketiah, Jesus hasn't been scoring that many goals anyway, which is kind of Nketiah's problem. He does have the work rate, he's a great presser, he's got good movement. So hopefully we can see Arsenal's decent form continuing. In terms of players going up in value and down in value, I think Nketiah and Jesus is the obvious one. Obviously, Jesus out for a couple of months. I would say, so everyone knows he's out for a few months now. I don't think it's necessarily a terrible time to try and trade him in if you've got a clean bill of health. I wouldn't do it yet. I'd wait until Boxing Day to see, so we know, you know, if there are any last minute injuries or how things are looking. But if you've got a clean bill of health, I don't think it's a terrible time to get Jesus on the cheap, because you won't have too many opportunities to do that. In terms of his short-term replacement, at the moment it is Nketiah. Arsenal may look to sign someone in January. We don't know yet. My instinct tells me we won't get anyone, and that's just absolutely no information to back that up. I just have a feeling we'll try and ride it out of Nketiah for a couple of months, get Jesus back. Nketiah is not the worst deputy. Arteta likes him. I've got a feeling that is what will happen. I've also gone for a couple of defenders on the up for Arsenal. Arsenal's team defensive data is really, really strong. It's pretty much the first or second best in the league on basically every metric. And I expect a few more clean sheets to start coming in now. I think Arsenal were quite unlucky in certain games in the first half of the season where we lost clean sheets on just the odd silly mistake. In terms of my favourite picks, Gabriel is, I think, now this is off the top of my head, but I think he has the best attacking data of definitely any centre-back in the league, and I think any defender, to be honest. You know, his aerial threat is massive, and he's just a really good pick. Zinchenko is back, fit and healthy. I expect him to be starting week in, week out for Arsenal now, and you know, that slot is his for sure. In terms of players I think whose value might creep downwards, obviously Jesus is the first one, but I have also put Martinelli, and it's just a bit of a feeling. I think Jesus and Martinelli's partnership works so well because Jesus loved to pull out to that left-hand side, which let Martinelli dart inside almost into the central striker role quite often, which then led to him getting quite a lot of chances. His form has also dipped a little bit towards the second half of the first half of the season. And I don't think he's a bad pick, and I definitely, would not be looking at dropping him. Definitely, obviously, still a good pick. But I think if you can get an equivalent trade, I think it might not be a terrible decision to look at trading Martinelli out. That's only if you get offered a good deal, though. I wouldn't, don't take anyone for him, but that's just a feeling I've got. I've also gone for Ben White. He did leave the England camp due to personal issues. It's not been confirmed what exactly happened, but the rumour is that there was some kind of big bust up between him and the coaching staff and Southgate, and I don't really want to get into that too much, but it's not a good look either way. And I do think now with Tomiyasu back fit, I can see his minutes being managed a little bit more. Again, I definitely hold him if you still have him. This is just kind of a long-term thing. It wouldn't be surprised to see his minutes start to come down a little bit. Okay, next up we've got Villa. Looking at their fixtures, it's pretty rough. They have now got Unai Emery in. He's had a decent amount of time to work with almost all the squad over this break, which is definitely going to be a good thing for Villa. And it's a shame, in my opinion, that the fixtures are tough. I think it would have been really nice to be able to lump on Villa and hope that Emery can get something out of them. But at least it gives us a bit of a chance to wait and see. Looking at the first three fixtures after the break, Liverpool at home, Tottenham away, Wolves at home. So two horrendous fixtures to start with, about as bad as it gets. And beyond that, it doesn't get too much better, to be honest. They're 19th overall in the next 5 and then 19th overall in the next 10. So they do have tough fixtures kind of scattered throughout that. They do have some decent ones. They've got Leeds at home in 20, Wolves at home in 19. So back-to-back decent fixtures there. They also have City away in 23, Arsenal at home in 24. So, it's not a great run for Emery to get a bit of confidence under his belt. But I do think he's going to do quite a good job there. And there are definitely players I've got a very, very close eye on. And I think that game week 19 fixture against Wolves is the one to target. So I'll be looking at 17 and 18 and seeing, how they get on, ready to pick someone for Wolves at home, Leeds at home in 19 and 20. Looking at individual players then, first up I have gone for Ramsey. He was playing in the 3 behind the striker for Unai Emery's first couple of games, along with Bailey as well, and I think that could be quite a fruitful area to pick from if you can pick one that is nailed on and plays all the minutes. Those players for Unai Emery generally do create and score quite a lot of points. So those are players I'm definitely looking for, and I think Ramsey and Bailey will be 2 of the 3. I'll come on to Coutinho in a minute, but I'm not convinced he will be. The other player I'm looking at is Matty Cash. Luca Dean as well is another one. I just went for Cash on the basis that he had a pretty decent World Cup, and I think he'll be coming back full of confidence, but crucially he didn't get too far in the competition where he'll need that extended rest period. So I think he'll be coming back looking pretty sharp, and I think defence with Villa is definitely something to target when the fixtures are good. Emery has got a decent track record of keeping defence tight, especially when he's at these sort of mid-table teams looking to scrape into like the Europa League or the back end of Europe. So I do like the look of Villa going forward. I think there are plenty of options once we know the lineup, and that comes on to the next 3. These are all players that I think might suffer. I think I'll start with Young because I think he'll definitely suffer. I don't think he'll be starting anymore now with the fullbacks fit. So Young is someone that if you're still holding, definitely get rid of. I've also said Coutinho as well. I just have a feeling that he's not going to be Unai's kind of player, and I don't think he'll be starting. That is just a bit of a hunch, really. It's not much to go off. If I did own him, I would be quite wary. We then have the age-old question, Watkins/Ings. I think if they share minutes, it's bad for everyone. And if one of them absolutely nails down the spot, then it's just bad for the other one. I think I'm leaning towards Watkins being the better pick at the moment. I just think he's more versatile, runs the channels better, he works harder, which Unai Emery does like. But then Ings does have, I think, has he scored 3 goals in his last 4 games or something? So, he is the potent finisher. He is the pen taker as well if he is starting. So it's quite a tough call there, but it's definitely a wait and see. And with these next 2 fixtures, there's absolutely no rush to try and guess the lineup. We can just wait until game week 19. It's not a bad idea, I think, to pick up if Ings is free in a decent amount of leagues. I don't think it's a terrible idea to pick him up and stick him on your bench for a couple of weeks in the hope that he does get the starting role, and then you can play him for those decent fixtures coming up. The third team today then is Bournemouth. The fixtures are pretty rough, I would say. There's a couple of decent ones in there, but it's definitely not a team you want to target. Chelsea away in 17 is really tough. Palace at home in 18 looks okay. Then it's United away in 19, not an ideal fixture. Looking beyond those 3, the next 5 is not actually too bad, and that's mainly because 20 and 21, we've got a double header of Brentford away, Forest at home, which is really good. But then we do struggle again in the following 5, putting them at the absolute bottom of the fixture rank over the next 10. They play City, Arsenal and Newcastle in those fixtures from game week 21 to 26. So, they do have a few ones in there to target, but it's definitely not a great time to be long-term holds or medium-term holds of Bournemouth assets. Looking at those assets then, the players I expect to be doing better over the next period. I've gone for Tavernier just because I think he's a good player, and his stats are good, the data's good, but the returns haven't quite caught up yet, which sometimes, it goes one or 2 ways, obviously. Either the stats regress and he goes back to baseline, or he does start getting some returns in the books and, making the most of those chances that he's been getting. Another player I'm looking at is Neto, obviously the keeper. He's now back fit, so we'll be back in goal for Bournemouth. I imagine he's been dropped in quite a few leagues due to the fact that he was injured. So if you are struggling for a second keeper, he is not a bad one to look at, considering the save points that he racks up. And another man that I'm quite excited to finally see back is David Brooks. It looks like he's going to be fit. It might take a couple of game weeks for him to really get going, but I think that he could be a welcome addition to this Bournemouth attack. He's a good player. He's just been struggling with injuries the last couple of years. We've seen what he can do in a Bournemouth shirt a couple of years ago in the Premier League, and hopefully he can get back to that form. On that note, I think Billing is still probably going to be starting, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him move a little bit deeper into that kind of more defensive midfield role that he is also very good at. But that just means that the attacking returns will probably dry up. He's not going to get the same level of returns he's been having from a number 6 position, but we can wait and see on that. It might be that these players don't break into the 11 and Billing stays at number 10. I've also got Kiefer Moore in here as well. I just think O'Neill has been pretty loyal to him so far, but with the more of these options getting fit again, will they move to just Solanke up front on his own with more midfielders running off him? It wouldn't surprise me to see that happen to shore up Bournemouth's midfield. And finally, we've got Travers obviously losing his place to Neto, who is back fit again. Finally then, it is Brentford. The fixtures are pretty bad. They're not great, they're not horrendous. There's some good ones in there, but the next 3, Spurs at home, West Ham away, Liverpool at home, is not great. Again, it's not horrendous, but it's not great. The next 5, they're ranked 15th. Those first 3 are rounded out by Bournemouth at home and Leeds away, which is pretty good. So, looking at 2021, game week 22, they got Saints at home as well, which is another good fixture. So there's a little run in the middle there, and then it does toughen up again. They've got Arsenal and United away in the ones after that. So some decent fixtures to target, but there are issues with Brentford, and we'll come on to them shortly. looking at players then, and we have to start with Ivan Toney. At the time of recording, we still do not know what is going to come of his betting infractions. You know, when we look at what's happened in the past to players that have done this, Joey Barton had a similar case and he got an 18-month ban. And then Kieran Trippier, you know, he didn't bet himself, but he was giving away information that he was, moving clubs, and his friend bet on it. He got, I think, 10 weeks, something like that. So I would be astonished if Toney doesn't get a ban. I think I would not be surprised to see him banned for the rest of the season, personally. Not necessarily that I think that's right or wrong, but that is what I would expect. They might go a bit lighter on him because he is a Premier League footballer and there's a bit more of a spotlight on it. So maybe just a few months ban, but I can't see any way he doesn't get a ban. I might be wrong. They might surprise me, but with the precedent we've got, I can't see anything other than a ban coming for Toney. Now, what does this mean for the rest of the team? Well, I think it's bad news for the attack in general. That's why I've got Mbeumo on here as well in the red, because I think it just makes the attack worse to lose out on such a brilliant player. The only player I think might benefit is Lewis Potter, who I think is quite talented and will probably see more minutes because of this. Wissa as well is someone I toyed with. But I think, to be honest, I will probably just stay away from the Brentford attack for the time being. Especially, we still don't know what's happening. So this may not have even been resolved by game week 17. I'm sure it will be, though. So the players I'll be looking for, if the attack's getting worse, surely Thomas Frank will look to shore up the defence and just try and, win games with clean sheets. So Raya and Aya, who is back from injury now, are my two favourite picks. Ben Mee, I think, may lose his place. I'm not sure on that yet. We'll wait and see, but that's why he is in the red as well with Aya back fit. Okay, everyone, that wraps up my first 4 teams. As you can tell, I'm doing it alphabetically. So tomorrow we will have Brighton, Chelsea, Palace and Everton. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that. If you enjoyed, please do hit the like button. If you want to support the channel, consider joining our Patreon. It's just a few £1 a month, and it really does help to support the channel because this obviously does take quite a lot of my time and effort. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.